I'll tell you, the deep state is panicked and they're desperate. And let me tell you who the deep state should fear the most. And that is other deep state players that are talking to authorities such as John Durham and to AG Barr and to the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz. The word I heard is the number of deep state players that are trying to save themselves at the expense of other deep state players is significant.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report. This is part 2 of my gripping interview with Dr. Dave Janda from Operation Freedom. Please make sure you subscribe to Dave's channel over there on YouTube, Operation Freedom. You'll be surely happy that you did that. And thank you so much too for making sure that the alert bell is clicked next to my subscribe button so you can be alerted every single time I put up a new video. And thanks so much for tuning in. Guys, this video is brought to you in part by our friends at ratefamily.com. You know, we're all getting older, and many of us are facing end-of-life issues with our parents who are getting older, and so many of our parents are unprepared. Did you know that the average funeral costs between $8,000 and $9,000? And many boomers are leaving behind medical bills and other debts. Having no insurance when you die can leave your loved ones with a huge bill to deal with. So take control of your family's destiny today and have the satisfaction of knowing they will be financially taken care of. Visit ratefamily.com and get a free quote on life insurance or health insurance. You can select the best plan to fit your needs and your budget. So ratefamily.com or call 1-855-919-RATE. You'll be glad you did. Click the link below this video for your free quote. And now, without further ado, part 2 of my interview with Dr. Dave Janda. Literally, if you want to know what the deep state talking points are, watch CNN.
CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, you got it. I agree.
All right, let's do this. Let's go back to the hammer. And to kick it off, I guess we can sort of make it Matt Gaetz Day. Let me play this sound bite. It's very short. It's from Twitter here.
It is past time to stop the harassment of the president and the first family, to acknowledge those who engaged in false accusations for an extended period of time, and to figure out how in the world such an accusation was able to be funded by the DNC, cooked up in the Obama White House, and then polluted by Russians. We can do a lot better, and we're going to figure out what happened.
Yeah, we're going to figure out what happened. So why don't we bridge over to the hammer? You've helped uncover what was going on, the deep state hammer, the surveillance operation established under Barack Obama and rolled out long before any of us really suspected was possible. It's treason, it's sedition, and I want to see perp walks. I'm hearing that former British spy Christopher Steele, who compiled the dossier, has now agreed to talk to the FBI, but only the FBI. We need perp walks. We need heads rolling. And what kind of update do you think you can give us? And how about this Horowitz report? We're waiting on that as well.
So we'll hit the Horowitz and let's start with Hammer. Bottom line is the Hammer was a platform that was created actually in the early 2000s. And it was in the Bush administration, but it was not to be used domestically in the United States. It was to be used in foreign adversaries in identifying terrorist activity and trying to stop these terrorist activities. So a platform that was to be used for surveillance, but of foreigners, okay, of potential threats coming into the country. I have found out that as far back as January 2009, right after Obama was inaugurated, the hammer was flipped into an offensive weapon for the Obama administration, to be run by, if you will, John Brennan and James Clapper, to be used on domestic surveillance, to be used for blackmail, bribery, leverage. The guy who helped create the hammer is an individual by the name of Dennis Montgomery. Dennis Montgomery, back in 2015, decided, you know what, how this hammer is being utilized. It was supposed to be used for foreign surveillance. It's being used domestically. It's being used through the Obama White House and through Brennan and Clapper as their own privatized, rogue, illegal surveillance system, monitoring phone calls, emails, internet transactions, financial transactions. and then taking that information and being used to blackmail people, to leverage people, and the like. He took that information that he accumulated on 47 hard drives and brought it to the field office in Florida, in I believe Miami, outside Miami, and under video documentation and under oath, turned over this documentation to the FBI saying, illegal operation, illegal surveillance being run by government officials, spying on other government officials, Supreme Court justices. Makes sense why all of a sudden Judas Roberts flipped his vote at the last minute on Obamacare, on federal court judges, on FISA court judges, on government officials, on private American citizens. He turned that over on August 19th, 2015. He was provided limited immunity. And he was under oath. So, for example, many people say, well, if what he turned over was legitimate, why wasn't he arrested for turning over this information? Well, the information, he was turning in evidence of a crime. Why would they arrest him for turning over evidence of a crime? They then brought him back to Washington at the end of November of the same year, 2015, beginning of December 2015. And again, under oath, Baker, the general counsel, the head lawyer for the FBI, with Comey and in the Obama administration, again put him under oath, went through all these questions and answers, confirmed what he had turned in, and then gave him full immunity. Now, there are people for years, not just one or two people, but for years, a multitude of people have said, oh, Dennis Montgomery is a fraud. Well, if he's a fraud, and they say, well, what he turned over was fraudulent. If what he turned over was a fraud, when he was under oath and turned this information over, why didn't they hit him with a perjury charge, right? They never did. And if what he turned over was a fraud, why did they give him limited immunity in August of 2015 and then full immunity in December of 2015?
Right.
Okay, now, Dennis Montgomery turns this over. And right after he turns this over, the deep state said, oh my gosh, they got us. This guy has turned over evidence that shows that we violated the Fourth Amendment rights of millions of people. People are going to go to jail. Read that as Brennan, Clapper, all the way up into the Oval Office under the Obama administration. So what did they do? Exactly what they tried to do to you, Sean, what they've tried to do to me is they dirty us up, right? They put out information. Dennis Montgomery's a fraud. Dennis Montgomery. Here's what they cannot deny, okay? Because many people say, oh, the hammer didn't exist. Well, let me tell you something. There's been some incredible investigative reporting. This is Pulitzer Prize winning material that has been done by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. They have a series of 6 articles out. Incredibly in-depth, thorough, well-sourced, double-sourced, triple-sourced, quadruple-sourced, not only documenting the hammer, documenting its legitimacy, but in fact, in March of 2017, Vault 7 was released from Julian Assange and WikiLeaks about the surreptitious illegal surveillance programs that the CIA was involved with, and one of those that was listed was the hammer. Well, if the hammer didn't exist, what was it doing in Vault 7? And when Mary Fanning and Alan Jones first put out their report at the beginning of March 2017, their sites were attacked, decimated, to try to block that information from coming out. And that is when Admiral Ace Lyons, who recently passed away, and General Tom McInerney came on my radio show, March 19th, 2017. And the deep state thought they had everything suppressed, and they came on Operation Freedom, my radio show, live, and let it loose about the hammer. Well, let me tell you something. It didn't take very long before there were some ramifications.
Yeah, the next day.
And now that we got some of the text release between Strzok and Page that the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz, put out, that night, right after the interview, Strzok and Page were texting about what General McInerney had said on the radio show just several hours after he was on. And the next day, as you mentioned, they put Comey out front to go in front of Congress, and he testified to, one, there was no surveillance done of the American public or Trump. Lie, perjury, jail right there. Because remember, it was Comey's FBI that took possession of the 47 hard drives documenting this illegal activity as far back as 2015, and his role was to suppress it. And he also said, not only that there was no, but he also said, and that's when they panicked. And they said, and that's when he announced to the public for the first time that the FBI was investigating collusion between Trump, the Trump campaign, and Russia. They needed to change the narrative. And the reason is because they could not let this information of the hammer out. And the whole Russian collusion narrative was created for many reasons, one of which was to divert attention from the illegal activity they were involved with for years, not months, years, since 2009, by turning the hammer system into a rogue, privatized, domestic, illegal surveillance system.
Well, let me just jump in and then you continue. But they also needed an excuse because what they were doing is 100% illegal. Because look, I keep putting up the Fourth Amendment on screen here. I hope I'm not annoying people by doing so. But we're under attack. The First Amendment is under attack by the social media giants who want to shut us up and don't want this truth out. And the Fourth Amendment has been under attack by these deep state rogues who wanted to target our sitting president. Now, without the Bill of Rights, correct me if I'm wrong, without a constitution in the Bill of Rights, we're not very much damn different than China, right? So the Fourth Amendment couldn't be more important as it pertains to the illegality of what's been going on here, even as John Brennan now tries to backpedal and saying, hey, well, you know, that's all part of the deal. The FBI does this. This is what we do. We spy. The CIA, this is what we do. We spy. But anyway, you said it gets worse. Go ahead.
Well, the CIA's mandate is not to interfere or to investigate in domestic issues.
Domestically, right.
They already broke their mandate. I mean, right then and there. But then it gets worse. So then James Baker, the general counsel of the FBI, and this was really, and Doug Collins, let's give him a lot of credit from the House of Representatives of releasing the transcripts from behind closed doors. Collins recently released the transcript of James Baker, the general counsel for James Comey at the FBI in the Obama administration. And he testified in two dates in October of 2018. I think October 2nd and October 15th of 2018. And it just got released. And in this testimony, October 2nd, he's asked, did the Obama administration, October 2nd, illegally surveil American citizens, Trump? No, not to my knowledge. October 2nd, 2018. 2 weeks later, October 15th, 2018, he has a second date for his testimony. And Jim Jordan starts to ask him a question. Great guy, as you mentioned before. Starts to ask him a question. And Baker says, stop, wait, stop. This is the beginning. He goes, stop. He goes, I need to correct the record of something I said the last time I was here. I said that there was no surveillance of Trump or illegal surveillance of American citizens. Well, this is what he said, quote, I just remember this a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Several years ago, August 2015, I sent a team down to Florida to get some hardware that was involved in some illegal surveillance activities by government officials, read Brennan Clapper, Obama administration, of other government officials and American citizens. And Jordan go, whoa, wait, what? What? What are you? And he goes, yeah. Well, who are the names? Well, the attorney's name was Larry Klayman, and he was representing a guy by the name of Dennis Montgomery, who handed over hardware related to illegal surveillance of American citizens in Trump and of government officials by government officials.
That's hilarious.
He said that under oath. Now, many people say, well, he was probably lying. What? Why would he perjure himself?
Well,
And there's one other critical piece of information, Sean. One other critical piece of information is in 2006, John Negroponte, who was the director of national intelligence under former President George W. Bush, invoked the state secret privilege on Dennis Montgomery and what he was working on, which means that the government felt that he was involved in such high-level surveillance, they essentially put a gag order on him that he could not speak about this. So when deep state puppets, in the Mockingbird press started to dirty up Montgomery that I mentioned earlier, Montgomery couldn't defend himself because he was under state secrets privilege since 2006. And if he had tried to defend himself, they would have arrested him on treason charges for breaking his state secrets privilege. Right. And as I mentioned, you recently had Bill Binney on and did a great interview with Bill. And you asked Bill, what we're talking about with this hammer is a parallel platform, because in the standard NSA surveillance program, although it was used illegally in unmasking people, it left footprints in the NSA platform. In other words, if Barack Obama said, "Hey, I want to know what this Sean guy is doing. I want to unmask him," and there would still, even if they got rid of the 702 forms, there was an internal log system built in the system, and Bill should know because he helped build it, that would always be there, that would leave a footprint. And the reason why these parallel platforms, one of which was the hammer, there are many others, but the only one that came out to the public was Dennis Montgomery because he stepped forward and he was crucified for doing so. Bill Binney said these platforms were created because you don't leave any footprints. You can do whatever you want and no one knows you've been there. Okay, so I had Kirk Wybie and Bill Binney, I mentioned earlier, on this blockbuster of a video. And I sent to Bill and Kirk all the documentation. I had contact with Dennis Montgomery, I had sources who dealt with Montgomery, and then I ended up getting in contact with Montgomery. And I said, send me certain documents, obviously not classified, but in particular, show me the documentation of your state secret privilege, because that's the key, okay? I mean, that's really important. I go, send me your security clearances, whatever you can that's not classified. I sent everything to Bill, sent everything to Kirk Wybie, who, as you know, there are two of the nicest people on the earth. They are two of the most brilliant people on the earth, but they're also two of the most honest people on the earth. And this is the response I got back from Kirk Wybie and Bill Binney after they reviewed those documents. Dave, all the documents you sent testified to the effect that Dennis Montgomery was involved in developing surveillance methods for the U.S. government that the latter entity, the U.S. government, believed would pose grave danger to the national security if divulged. In reviewing them, I did not see anything questionable or that would indict what Dennis has said. Kirk. And Bill's response, he had called me and who confirmed that, but he also said, Dave, I agree with Kirk, Bill. So the bottom line is that these parallel platforms had been created long ago, but they were turned on the American public, including Trump, to target people illegally by Obama, Brennan, and Clapper. And they violated the Fourth Amendment rights of millions of individuals, but they also used it as their privatized system to blackmail and leverage people, which helped the deep state and destroyed the freedoms and liberties of every American.
That's absolutely right. And I want to clarify something regarding the Baker testimony. When I said that's hilarious, what I was referring to is the fact that regarding his misremembering Clayman and the tools used to unroll all of this, he was trying to unperjure himself when he said, I kind of forgot last time I was here. So here's the truth of the matter. Can one unperjure themselves? I wonder. But this is why Q says there's panic in D.C. He wouldn't have done that if there wasn't panic in D.C. These people are scared, and they should be scared, because when you break the Fourth Amendment rights of any American citizen, it's a big deal.
Well, if you did it and I did it, it would be a big deal. When these guys do it, it's just another day at the office, right? Or has been. And this is what they're afraid of. Because you know what, Sean? When you water all this down, this whole fake Trump-Russian collusion thing, what's it about? So you mentioned it before. It's about sedition. It's about treason. We just talked about it's a cover-up of criminal violations of the Fourth Amendment rights of millions of individuals, millions of Americans. It was cover for Hillary's humiliating loss. It was a protection policy, essentially, for the deep state and their puppets for their past criminal activities. And it was a diversion also from Hillary Clinton's illegal server, which ultimately put every American's freedom and security in harm's way.
It is a shot. It's the story of our lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, this is the story of our lifetimes, because everybody who is aligned against we the people is part of this story. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro,
yes.
Clapper, Brennan. I mean, these people, Brennan specifically, needs to do jail time. DeGeneva keeps saying that he doesn't need one lawyer, he needs 5. So I hope that's true. And I hope that these people are indicted by grand juries, and I hope they do time for their crimes.
You know, many people doubt that's going to happen. I believe it is going to happen. And the reason is I truly believe A.G. Barr, and I believe that John Durham, the prosecutor, I know individuals that have dealt with Durham, okay? And to a person, they not only say he's legit, they say he's apolitical. It's all about the rule of law with that guy. And it doesn't matter. He's gone after Republicans. He's gone after Democrats. They've all gotten slaughtered. And by the way, he is no fan of Robert Mueller. He was the one who exposed Mueller, and how Mueller kept 4 innocent people in jail, it turned out, for 35 years for a murder they didn't create, in trying to protect an informant he had at the FBI. That when he was a prosecuting attorney in Boston, he refused to help those guys in jail that were there for no reason, to protect an informant. And then when he was FBI director, he was trying to block the release of the records of those guys that would have exonerated him. And Durham went to a federal court judge, to the point where the federal court judge threatened Mueller with contempt and jail if he didn't release the forms. The word I hear on the inside is Durham despises Mueller.
Well, it's an exciting time to be alive. I'll tell you what, we can talk about the Horowitz report and when you think that might be released or what you think might be detailed in it. But let me ask you this. Maybe we should move on and just talk about one other issue that I find very alarming. Have you seen the news of these former state senators showing up murdered? Linda Collins Smith, a former Arkansas state senator, who, according to the Free Thought Project, had reportedly uncovered some government human trafficking or child trafficking, sex trafficking, according to them. I'm not sure about that, but lots of people showing up murdered all of a sudden or suicided. And it just makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes. If there's panic in D.C., are they now trying to cover up their tracks by whacking anybody who can help shed light on the truth?
Well, the murder of the state senator in Arkansas and the murder of the, I believe, state senator in Oklahoma is very concerning. And I have heard very similar reports as you just mentioned. And the bottom line is that if the deep state thinks that by killing these innocent individuals, that it's going to stop the flow of information from coming forward over their illegal activities, whether it's violation of the Fourth Amendment rights or whether it's involvement in the drug trade or human trafficking, if they think that's going to stop because of the deaths of those 2 state senators, I think they're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, and to be clear,
the genie is out of the bottle.
Yeah, damn straight. The Oklahoma former state senator's name is Jonathan Nichols, found dead of a gunshot. And by the way, Linda Collins Smith, that was a murder. She was found wrapped in a blanket or a rug outside of her home, and her body was so badly decomposed they couldn't immediately identify her. Mm-hmm. So it's extremely disturbing. We're also seeing reports of, I don't have it in front of me right now, but we reported on it at SGT Report of some NYPD, I think a police chief, another detective, and always, these things are always, at least in the cases of those folks, labeled suicides. You know, and it reminds me of Senator Nancy Schaefer. Remember Nancy Schaefer blowing the whistle on CPS, human trafficking and snatching kids? And what happened? They say that she was shot by her husband, who then shot himself. I did these murder-suicides. It's like the Arkansas Clinton body count. Time and time again, you're found in the woods, tied to a tree with your hands behind your back, and then it's labeled a suicide.
I'll tell you, the deep state is panicked, and they're desperate. And let me tell you who the deep state should fear the most. And that is other deep state players that are talking to authorities such as John Durham and to AG Barr and to the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz. The word I heard and have heard at least for the past 6 months is the number of deep state players that are trying to save themselves at the expense of other deep state players is significant.
Yeah.
So if the deep state players believe that by offing a couple state senators or whomever is going to save their skins, they're wrong. And the reason is because their compatriots in the deep state movement are handing them over as we speak.
Yeah. Rats fleeing a sinking ship.
And rats turning on rats.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the best news that we can imagine, because at the end of the day, all we ask for, Dave, all we want as patriots is truth and justice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the giant social media companies are aligned against. And that's what the Mockingbird mainstream horror media is aligned against. And that's what the deep state is aligned against. And we all must stand together. I do love the slogan that's come from the Q movement, where we go one, we go all. We need to stick together for truth and for justice. And Dave, thank you so much for all you're doing over there at Operation Freedom.
Well, thank you so very much, Sean, for all that you do and have done for so long, because you've put it all on the line.
Well, we all have, brother.
You paid a price.
We all have. And, my hat's off to others that are doing the heavy lifting too now on YouTube. You've got, I think his name is Vincent James over there at the Red Elephants, and so many great Tracy Beans. There's so many great new people in the truth movement, and they're all being targeted by Big Brother as well. But
I encourage folks, you mentioned people, these investigative team, Mary Fanning and Alan Jones, they have a website, The American Report, theamericanreport.org. I encourage folks to look at the information there, because you're never going to get that in the New York Times, Washington Post, or any source that's out there representing the deep state. They really take them on head on. It's what you try to do at SGT Reports, what I try to do at davejanda.com. Folks can join us on mine. I have the radio show, as you know, Sean, 2 to 5 Eastern. It's live. They can stream it live. Just go to davejanda.com every Sunday, 2 to 5, hit the button. We have our public side at davejanda.com, the subscription side. They're welcome to join us, and the YouTube channel. And I don't have the reach you do, Sean, but we do get information out, and I think it's all oars in the water. And by doing that, I believe we make our country safer and healthier by doing so.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and I don't have the reach I had last year either because of those changing algorithms, but we'll continue to stay in the fight. So a special thanks to my patrons who are helping us do just that. You guys are really making a difference for us. So many thanks from the bottom of my heart from me and my little team over there at SGT Report, both on YouTube and the website, sgtreport.com. And guys, just to be clear, finding Dave Janda on YouTube requires that you type in, I believe, Operation Freedom, correct? That's the name of the YouTube channel?
That's correct, Sean.
All right. So do please subscribe to Dave, and make sure you stay subscribed both to Operation Freedom and SGT Report, because I don't know why it's happening, but evidently people get unsubscribed. I'm sure it's an accident, right, YouTube?
Right.
All right. Dave Janda has been our guest, Dr. Dave Janda, Operation Freedom. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate all that you do.
Yeah, back at you. And guys, thank you so much. If you're still with us at this point, give us a like, get the word out. People need to hear this information. People need to be engaged in our republic. That's how we save it. And friends, just one final word before we let you go. For those of you that did download the Brave browser, some of you, more than half of you actually, didn't install it. So go back, re-download it, and make sure you install and use the Brave browser, because it's more than 2 times faster than Google's Chrome, and it will not spy on you like Google's Chrome does. Also, it has a built-in ad blocker. You'll love it. And you can even earn basic attention tokens, which you can use to pay out as tips to the creators whose content you like the best. It's a win-win. Take a bite out of Google and support a real browser that won't spy on you. I'll leave the link for the Brave browser below this video. And for real news, visit us at sgtreport.com. Love you guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
People are leaving the bought-off lamestream fake media sources. They have been leaving in droves, and I believe it will only escalate over the coming months leading up to the election. The deep state and their tentacle, the bought-off lamestream fake media, they're petrified.